Rumors would spread anyway, and if they did, it would only be worse. To prevent that, I summoned an emergency meeting of all the significant families in the city. By law, such gatherings are open to the public, but this one felt larger and more public than any I could remember. I never thought the city hall could hold so many people at once. At the far end of the room stands the long table where the 11 of us are seated. Beside the 9 most powerful families sit Deborah and me. She keeps avoiding my gaze, cold as stone, and I can already feel what she might throw at me in front of everyone. Behind the seated family representatives stand groups of relatives and supporters. Beyond them is the public. I think most of the village is here, because not only is the room packed, but so is the hallway, and people are pressed up against the front of the building as well. They have no chance of hearing everything clearly, but the information will spread fast enough. There are also important militiamen present. I begin by laying out our situation. As we all know, the Travelers' event occurred a few days ago. As a reaction to that, Milo and a few other men went out to scout the situation. I was against it, but I could not stop them, since they were officially going out on a hunting session. Deborah cuts in, her voice cold. Just to be noted, during the night when this happened, my husband Dan was at the tavern drinking what could fog the judgment and the whole situation. I clearly remember him coming home drunk and not knowing how to use the bathroom. A hum spreads across the room, and I feel the chill of it crawling up my spine. Deborah is going all out, trying to destroy me right here in front of everyone. It boils in me so hard I can barely breathe, but I have to stay unshaken. I continue without acknowledging what she said. We have information that Milo truly found the Traveler. However, our diplomatic mission found out that they attacked the Kautz warrior. The word spread through the room like a bomb thrown into water. Milo attacked Kautz, someone repeats in disbelief. That is preposterous. He would never do that. It is one of the prominent families, one aligned with my wife and with Milo. Kautz cannot be trusted, and you are lying, Chief. I keep my face cold. We have always had good relations with Kautz. There is no reason they would lie to us. Our diplomat met with Bebe, who is a trustworthy person, and we have been through a lot before. There is no reason for her to lie, and that is not even the worst part. From what we gathered, Milo not only attacked the Kautz warrior, but also the wizards, which I realized too late that this may have been a mistake. Several families jumped to their feet, pointing at me and shouting, "That is not true! Impossible!" The unease in the room becomes unbearable. People start turning to one another, speaking over each other, and I hear raised voices from outside as well. The situation is turning into chaos. I shout at the top of my lungs, "Silence! I am not finished!" It works. The room falls quiet. I use that silence as proof of authority and continue, keeping the tremor out of my voice as best I can. You were summoned because you need to understand the situation and the next steps Blackpond will take. I am still chief here, and I am deciding our next course of action based on all the information I am sharing with you. Pointing fingers and screaming will not change what happened in the last few days. We are going to issue a militia alert, I say, expecting the room to explode again. Instead, to my surprise, everything goes completely still. It is so silent I think even the people outside could hear me. As a result of these events, Blackpond has been threatened by wizards, and we must be prepared for any kind of sabotage from them. The militia will patrol from now on until further notice. Nobody speaks. Then Deborah strikes back. I suggest an emergency vote for a new chief, as it is clear that Dan is no longer suited to rule, she says. He is hiding the full truth about what is happening. I also need to inform you that we were given an ultimatum by the wizards. Hand over a few children, and they will leave us alone. I know my husband is a loving member of Blackpond, but he is no longer thinking clearly. Everyone clings to Deborah's every word. I say we send some of our children to the wizards so they may have a better future and not be hungry here in Blackpond, one of the families declares. The knife in my back comes straight from her hand. I have no idea how she found out about the wizard's message so quickly. But she did, and she used it at exactly the right moment. My only defense is simple. We know the cruelty of the wizards. I do not want anyone from Blackpond to hand over their children to them. That is enough. I have no idea what she answers because the room explodes. Shouting fills the hall. The wizards are attacking. They want our children. Children start crying and the whole room turns chaotic. I can see that everyone is overwhelmed by the situation. I try to silence them again, but this time it does not work. The noise only fades a little. Even so, I can see the families at the table already debating whose children should be sent to the wizards, as if they no longer acknowledge my decision to stand with the militia and refuse to sacrifice anyone from our village. Some of them even say it is obvious that we cannot fight those lunatics and that it is better to sacrifice a few than lose all of Blackpond. That is what finally makes my rage take over. I begin speaking about how we are all Blackpond, not just a few wealthy families. But as I finish, I catch a glimpse of Deborah's smile, and it is clear that in the eyes of the families I am finished. And to be honest, I do not mind that nearly as much as I should. The only question now is whether I still have any grip on the people or the militia. As the chaos in the room slowly calms enough for everyone to hear the discussion at the table, the families bring out the law stating that, in times of crisis and when the chief is no longer suitable for making decisions, they may establish a council to take over. Before I can even protest or do anything, my grip on the situation is gone. What happens over the next 30 minutes is that I am no longer in power in Blackpond. I think about fighting back and taking the matter to the people. I know many of them understand that our only choice is to stand up for ourselves. But it could lead to a riot, and that is the last thing I want. Of course, by the time the head of the council is elected, it is Deborah. For the first time during the whole meeting, she looks directly at me and says, "Dan, please leave the table." I stare at her for a few moments, then stand up. The entire room is looking at me in silence, waiting for my reaction. "Please be careful," I say to the new leadership at the table. I want to add more, but I am so drained that I cannot. As I move away from the table and head outside, people make space for me. In silence and defiance, I move slowly out of the building. As I pass, I hear whispers like, "Do not give up on us, Chief," and "Do not let them take my baby." Mothers are quietly crying, holding their babies tightly to their chests, and it is the most heartbreaking sight I have ever seen.